Good morning. I'm here at Alexander Hamilton Memorial Free Library, and today we're going to introduce to you a brand new program called Fascinating Facts, Literary Who Am I? Now this is going to be aired on the first Tuesday of every month at 9 a.m. on Facebook. So please stay tuned because it will be interesting. Let's start with our first group of little tidbits, and you try and decide who I'm talking about. American playwright, best known for A Streetcar Named Desire. This author choked to death from inhaling the small plastic cap usually found on nasal spray or eye solution bottles. Who do you think that was? And bordering on the edge of superstitious, this American novelist steered clear of starting or finishing his writings on any given Friday. Furthermore, if a hotel room he was staying in had a phone number with the number 13 in it, he would simply change rooms. Who am I? In case of fire, this Danish author, who had a severe fear of fire, always brought an emergency coil of rope whenever he had to stay at a hotel in the event he had to escape. Who do you think it is? Regarded as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era, this English writer actively participated and practiced hypnosis. It was then called mesmerism. And apparently mesmerism can prove challenging to learn, but this author had a natural inclination. Who might that be? And the idea for a book series came to this author in a dream. She saw two people, an average girl and a boy who is an actual sparkly vampire, in a meadow in the woods, engaged in an intense conversation, discussing the problems surrounding the fact that they had fallen in love. Who is that author? This author was ready when inspiration knocked on her door. Just happened to be on a plane. While she was on the plane, she came up with the names for the famous houses in her famous series of books. She actually wrote them down on a motion sickness bag. She also chose her initials as a way to keep her identity anonymous and gender neutral, as she was afraid that because it was about magic, there's a hint, it might fail if it was written by a woman. So who do you think that was? That one might be a little easy. Of Mice and Men author. Had a very particular writing ritual and started every day with 24 sharpened pencils, using them until all 24 were dull, before sharpening them again. He used up to 60 pencils in a day and sometimes up to 100 pencils. His favorite brand to use was the Blackwing 602. Now, who is that author? Children's author. He wrote BFG and The Witch's Fame. Had a strict writing habit. Every day he wrote for 2 hours in the morning from 10 to 12. And then again he would write for another 2 hours only in the evening from 4 to 6. He was very strict about those hours. Who was he? And the best-selling living author with over 800 million copies of her books sold had to enroll at the Fear of Flying Clinic because her phobia was starting to impact her career because she couldn't travel to events. Who was she? One of England's finest novelists almost died at the age of 7. Both her and her sister Cassandra caught dysentery while in Oxford. Thankfully, her cousin sent a letter to her mother, who rushed to her 2 daughters with an herbal remedy. Who was that author? So those are a few, that's kind of a sampling of what we're going to be doing. Now let me tell you who those authors were. And you may have come up with a few of them on your own. You may have come up with all of them. The person who choked to death was Tennessee Williams. The superstitious American novelist who wouldn't stay in a room with the number 13 in the phone number was Truman Capote. And the Fear of Fire by the Danish author who had the rope, that was Hans Christian Andersen. And the one who was regarded as the greatest novelist of the Victorian era who practiced hypnosis was none other than Charles Dickens. The idea that came to the author in a dream about the vampire boy and the average girl was the Twilight series. That was Stephenie Meyer. And as far as the houses, now this one I thought probably most of you would get, that she came up with the houses on the plane. That was J.K. Rowling, and those were the 4 houses of Hogwarts. The K, so J came from her first name, Joanne, and the K came from her grandmother's name because she had no middle name, but she took it from her grandmother. And the Mice and Men author who would sharpen all those pencils every day was John Steinbeck. And the 2 hours in the morning, 2 hours in the evening, that was Roald Dahl. And the best living author with over 800 million copies of her book sold, Danielle Steele. She had a huge fear of flying. And the last one was England's finest novelist that almost died at the age of 7 from dysentery, was Jane Austen. So that's what we're going to be doing on this show. It's kind of interesting to learn a few things about the authors we think we know, or at least we've read. So stay tuned, because next month, the first Tuesday at 9 a.m., we will have another range of different topics and different authors. So I hope you listen in, and I hope you enjoy the show. If you have ideas, please let me know. Thanks for tuning in. Have a wonderful month.